Okay, so we're talking about the Northwest Ordinance today, and America was faced with the problem of how do we make money? We can't tax the individual citizens. We can only ask the states for donations. And the states can tax the citizens, but many of these citizens don't want to pay taxes. Many of them can't afford to pay taxes. So in an effort to make money, what they did was they took this Northwest Territory, this chunk of land that was really uninhabited. There weren't a lot of people that were living there. I mean, there were Native Americans that were there, but the egotistical Americans kind of said, well, we can force them out of there. We've done it once, we'll do it again. This is the land that we gained in the Treaty of Paris that we signed with the British. So it used to belong to Great Britain, and after the War of Independence, we got some of this territory. So kind of like whenever you're trying to make money, you might have a garage sale, you might have a yard sale, you might try and sell items around your house to try and make money. Well, that's kind of what America was doing here. They had land that people would want to buy and then use. So they said, why don't we, if we're not using this land for government purposes right now, let's portion it off and let's sell it. So they divided all this land, which now makes up the states of Ohio, Michigan, Indiana, Illinois, and Wisconsin. So this Northwest Territory, and it was called Northwest at the time because that was the furthest northwest land in America. Now we refer to it as the Midwest, right? So basically east of the Mississippi River and north of the Ohio River, right? So this chunk of land that we see in the graphic right there. Now this was a social compact or a social contract, kind of like the Constitution, kind of like the Mayflower Compact, kind of like the Articles of Confederation. It was an agreement for the people who bought the land and lived in this land. It was rules and regulations, things that they could do, things that they could not do. So these were laws that were set up for the territory, and these laws included public schools in every township. So Americans were starting to become wise to the idea that we don't want a nation full of morons. We want to have people who are educated. And the best time to educate them is when they are most absorbent of that information, and that's at a young age. So they said in every township, so in every 36 square miles, we're going to have at least one school in that township, right? So schools were set up. So that was a positive thing about this Northwest Land Ordinance. Another thing is it outlawed slavery in the Northwest, especially in the states of Michigan and Ohio. So we as Michiganders can take pride in the fact that slavery has never been legal from the moment that this territory, which is now the state of Michigan, has been around. Right? So slavery was banned in that area. And it was really the first ordinance or the first law that prohibited slavery in America. So that's another point of pride for the Midwest. Another thing that was stipulated in the Northwest Ordinance is that once a territory had 60,000 free citizens, it could apply for statehood. So they had to wait for enough people to move and live in this territory before they could apply to become a state. Now, why would you want to apply to become a state? Well, you get entered into this exclusive club, basically, that was the Union of States in America at the time. You also got protection from the federal government. You got to send representatives to Congress, and you could vote. So there were a lot of benefits to these territories becoming states. But you had to wait until you had 60,000 free citizens, which everybody living there should be free anyway, so that didn't even need to really be put in. And little Michigan history, it was established in 1837. So the Northwest Land Ordinance was written and passed in 1787, same year that the Constitution was eventually written. So 50 years later, Michigan had enough citizens to become and apply for a state. They applied and they were granted statehood. And again, no slavery from the beginning of Michigan as a territory, still no slavery today. And that, of course, was made clear throughout the rest of the nation in 1865 when the 13th Amendment was passed, abolishing or outlawing slavery in the country.